Is Jeff Lebby on his way out? And could Mississippi State turn to a familiar face to steady the ship? Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Mississippi State, your daily podcast on the Mississippi State Bulldogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jaron Spor. Welcome to Locked On Mississippi State, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. And thank you also to your everydayers, your insiders, all you guys that help out with the show. All thanks to you. Real quick, today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Like I said, I'm Jaron Spor. I'm a national college football writer at Athlon Sports. That's Landon McBride. We got a Friday show for you, but a bye-week Friday show to talk about different things. Yeah, so no previewing stuff for us today, but we're going to talk about Lebby's press conference. He made some interesting comments about Blake Shapen, kind of walked back some stuff he said from earlier in the week. Next up in Starkville, we're going to preview something. Obviously, there's no prediction because there's no game this week, but we have something for you that we're looking forward to in Starkville. But first, we'll start with Jeff Lebby leaving. This has been something that has kind of been circulating more on social media, and I know it's more of just fans talking about it. I've seen people even talk about it in the comments on YouTube. But the comments were, hey, if Lane Kiffin leaves, given Jeff Lebby's history at Ole Miss, would he even consider going there? And we did, obviously we did the crossover with Locked On Ole Miss, Stephen Willis yesterday. He said that if he feels that if Kiffin leaves, they kind of have their eyes set on a G5 coach, so that would obviously eliminate Lebby. I personally just don't see it, Lebby being the guy that they go and they start calling, mainly because I think they're going to want someone with a little bit more success. And, hey, Lebby's done a really good job in his second year, contrary to some of what some of y'all think out there. He's done a really good job in his second year. But I think if this was like a job that opened up after next year and Lebby then goes like 8-4 or something, then he'd be more considered for the job.
Yeah, I'm sure he's someone that when they make their big list of, like I said, every time a job opens up, you make a big list and you have your top 3 or 4 candidates. And then you have the guys that you look at if nothing else goes your way. He's probably on that part of the list. Like if their top 2 or 3 candidates don't, for whatever reason, they can't get them, Lebby is probably a name a little bit farther down that they would call because familiarity with the school, with the state, and I mean, the offensive system, if they wanted to keep it in place, his is not that different from what Lane Kiffin uses. So if they wanted to keep some continuity, they could keep that rolling. So it's not crazy to think he'd be on the list. It's a little crazy to think he'd get the job, but I wouldn't be surprised if he has name on some list.
I think it's one of those things that, and you talked about a little bit, if they strike out, then we'll see what happens. Because I like the hottest name for every team right now is pretty much John Sumrall at Tulane. Like that's, you hear him mentioned for Auburn. Florida was even mentioned. I know he had like an interview that got canceled at Florida. So you hear his name a lot. And I know a lot of Auburn people think he's like kind of the shoe-in to be their next head coach. Now, Ole Miss isn't open yet, so I would assume he would be on that list too. But like, let's say they have him at the top of the list and they strike out and he goes elsewhere. Well, now who knows who's next on their list? Maybe Joe Judge, who's already on staff. We talked about that on Tuesday's episode, I think it was. We kind of talked about it. Obviously, head coaching experience in the NFL, Mississippi State grad too, so that's kind of funny. But, if it was up to me, I mean, I'm not just saying this as a Mississippi State person. I think Lebby is better off than Joe Judge, personally. I think Joe Judge is a decent football coach, but I would kind of go with Lebby just because it kind of crashed and burned for Joe Judge. Now it did at the NFL level, and this is a different level, and so maybe it doesn't go that way. But yeah, I think you eventually could get to him if all these guys that are at the top of your list start getting picked off. And like you said, he's going to be on their list in my opinion, because a lot of times they have 10 to 20 names. You can't tell me Ole Miss isn't going to have him as one of those 10 to 20.
Yeah, and the Lane Kiffin domino is the big one. All this coaching search, everyone's like, yeah, well, we think this person can go here, this person probably can go here. But if Lane Kiffin goes to LSU or Florida or somewhere like that, that opens up a whole new, can of worms and changes everything that everyone thought they knew about how this coaching cycle was going to go. So we're kind of in wait and see mode. But yeah, I mean, you mentioned Summerall's number one. Probably Golish is on a ton of people's radars. Is the high. I mean, I know the South Florida losing a couple lately has cooled his fire a little bit, but a lot of people are still very high on him. So it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out with all these group of five coaches trying to move up.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, Kiffin is the big domino because there was one time there was like 4 teams where he had the number one odds to be their next head coach.
Yeah.
Like, I think he's the number one on a lot of people's boards. Now, I think he's probably told a couple of them no by now, so that he's only on the number one on number 2. I think it's probably Florida, LSU, and then obviously staying at Ole Miss is kind of his 3 options. And I really probably think it's more Florida just because of the issues with the governor at LSU kind of trying to run things.
I mean, I do want to see those press conferences, though, with the Kiffin and the governor going back and forth.
But if Kiffin, this is the thing, Kiffin hasn't liked being controlled at other places. Now, Ole Miss lets him do whatever he wants, except there's the rumor that he's been given this ultimatum, and so maybe they're finally not giving him whatever he wants. If that's the case, there's no way if he's getting upset about that, there's no way he's going to LSU, in my opinion, because of all the stuff that the governor's going to be in control. But now let's play a little game. If Lebby does leave, who's the next guy that should take over? I've already seen a ton of people say Dan Mullen, who's over at UNLV.
Yeah, that is the number one name I've seen floated, and it's not even if Lebby leaves. It's a fire Lebby now, bring Mullen home. Like, that is the sentiment that I'm picking up everywhere. And while I understand it, the Dan Mullen era was great. There was a lot of success. But the amount of coaches that have left somewhere and then come back later and actually been good is so small. I mean, Mac Brown going back to UNC and having moderate success might be the best example of it working. Like, it just doesn't work.
I guess Bill Snyder, because he retired and then came back.
I don't count that because he retired. He didn't. He wasn't like fired or left for another job. He chose to leave and then was like, "Nah, I'm coming back." But yeah, like, it just doesn't happen often, and when it does, it usually doesn't work because there's a reason that guy was let go.
Yeah,
not saying he was not a good coach. He, none of that, but there's a reason it ended, and usually it's hard to get it back.
You know what's funny about the Dan Mullen era? Because Lane and I, we have both talked many times about, man, this team needs to be a 7, 8, 9 win kind of program. And then you have that year where you pop for 10 or pop for 11. And we've heard people criticize us for that take. Like, oh, if you're not trying to win the championship, that should be your standard, blah, blah, blah. But then on the flip side, those same people are like, I want Dan Mullen back.
Well, that was the Dan Mullen era.
Yeah, that was the Dan Mullen era. That's literally what he did. 5-7, 9-4, 7-6, 8-5, 7-6, 10-3, 9-4, 6-7, 8-4 is last year.
Yeah, that's what he did.
Literally what we said that they need to be, and that's what y'all criticized us for. But that's what you want back.
Well, see, Dan Mullen with more money would be a 12-win team. Come on, no,
right? It's just, and this is my one, like, because I do think Dan Mullen's a pretty good coach.
Yes.
This is my one concern, and I believe Brandon Olson and I talked about it when we did the crossover with Florida. And I can't remember if we talked about it on the show or we were talking about it off air a little bit. But obviously he had some success at Florida. He went 10-3, then 11-2, then went 8-4, but then went 5-6 and got fired. And Olson just straight out said that, like, hey, and you could see it. It wasn't like Olson wasn't breaking news, but he was talking about how Dan had kind of quit. Really, after that 2020 season, they go 8-4. They played for the SEC championship. They lost in that game, and then they ended up losing to Oklahoma in the Cotton Bowl.
Yeah.
But you could kind of see that he had kind of quit. And then literally the next year is the year that he starts 5-6 and gets fired. He's not any younger.
No.
So, like, why was he quitting? That would be my question. Is he quitting because he was burnt out of everything? Because if that's the case, he's not going to be unburnt out of everything. Like, he might have just needed a little break. But I know everyone, and I've been this way too. If you've ever been burnt out from something, you can take a little time off, and then when you get back, it feels good, but it feels good for about 2 weeks, and then you're back to being burnt out again.
Yeah, you get burnt out a lot quicker.
Yeah, and so is he? What is he burn? What was he burnt out for?
And yeah, he's doing. Yeah, they're having success at UNLV.
Yeah,
but
they have a good roster already.
Yeah, it's a brand new ball game over there. Like, he's not. The stress you are under as the head coach of UNLV is different than the stress you're under as a head coach in the SEC. And so maybe he's not ready to hang it up coaching, but he's ready for a little bit less stress, a little lower stakes. Yeah. And I mean, some of his offensive ideas kind of seemed a little not outdated, but just a step behind a lot of things. Like, they had kind of been figured out. So, I mean, obviously that can be remedied by getting like a new offensive coordinator to inject new life, all of that. But I think
it was very specific on the quarterback he basically had to be a Tebow clone. I'm not saying as good as Tebow, but he had to play like that because his success was with Tebow as the offense coordinator. His best success was with Dak at Mississippi State. But he pretty much had to be that kind of player. Right.
And there's always, and yes, we all look back on that time fondly, but it's hard to recreate that in the present. You have to find the next Dan Mullen. You don't go and get old Dan Mullen.
Right. Yeah, I agree. That's what you got to find if Lebby were to leave.
Right.
But I don't see
maybe Lebby's the next Dan Mullen. I don't know.
He could be. Yeah, you never know. You never know. All right, coming up next, Jeff Lebby had his press conference this week. He made some interesting comments, kind of contradicted himself a little bit about Blake Shapen. We'll talk about that coming up next. Well, college football is back, and I couldn't be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, there's just nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel like more of a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. I pulled up Game Time in just a couple of taps. I saw amazing deals. I'm talking about your favorite college football games as low as $25. The app made it super simple. I could even see the exact view from my seat before buying. I've said it many times. That's my favorite thing about it. My family and my wife's family, we're going to go to the Dallas Cowboys Kansas City game on Thanksgiving Day. We used Game Time, found out where our seats were, and that's how we were able to purchase it because we wanted to know exactly where we're going to sit so we can see the game best, and that's what we did. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. All right, well, thanks for being Locked On Mississippi State, your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe. That helps the channels out. It keeps everything free so we can continue to do what we do for you guys. All right, let's dive into Jeff Lebby's press conference because he was asked, hey, what was that comment about wasted plays? Because he obviously made the comment about why he went with Shapen, and he said, hey, it's not about wasting plays, and that's why ultimately he chose Shapen. And it's like, well, Shapen threw 2 pick sixes. Like, what are we talking about here? And he goes, well, I didn't say Blake doesn't have wasted plays, but we can't waste plays. It wasn't fair to put Kamario out there every snap. When I call a play, I need to know one of 2 outcomes will happen. That's part of playing the position, not perfection physically. We'll all miss things, but from a decision-making standpoint, we need consistent execution each snap. So he kind of contradicts himself and says, hey, I didn't say Shapen didn't waste plays. Well, if Shapen's wasting plays, then why are you not going with Kamario if you're worried about him wasting plays? It seems like you have the same thing. And then on the flip side, he says, he talks about the decision-making standpoint. We need a consistent execution. And that tells me he does not have faith in what Kamario Taylor is reading when he's out there.
And it also shows me why Lebby sticks to coach speak so much.
Yeah.
The couple times he goes off script, he immediately gets called out on saying, hey, you said this.
Yeah,
but when you look at it, yeah, so I think we see why he kind of sticks to coach speak. Maybe he's a little too honest when he doesn't do it. So that's why. But yeah, it makes you wonder what he's seeing when they watch like the all 22 or what they're seeing in practice from Kamario. Like all we see is the result, really. I mean, you can watch it 14 times, but you're not going to see how a safety rotated. And maybe the good play that Kamario made, there was a better one that he missed, that kind of thing. And so maybe there's stuff they're seeing in when they review tape that, hey, he's not quite ready. Yes, he can make the big play. He can make the flashy play, but down in and down out, we can't trust him out there yet.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I talked about with Steven on yesterday's show. He was asking me about Shapen or Kamario. Shapen, I mean, he's clearly the better passer. He is. Now, I think Kamario throws a pretty good deep ball, but Shapen in the middle throws and short throws, like he is the better passer
of it.
Yeah, he is. And you can see that Kamario is raw, but I just feel like Kamario, despite all that, opens up the offense so much more. And that's what I talked about is we have seen how many times where teams are just selling out to stop Bothwell and Booth on the read options or the RPOs because they're not afraid of Shapen doing anything. Whereas now when Kamario's in, they have to be aware of him, which is now opening up the runs for Bothwell and Booth, as well as Kamario Taylor.
Yeah, and especially if you're going to call 6 quarterback or QB draws or QB dives, whatever you want to call them. Design runs right up the middle. Just put Kamario in if you're going to do that. I mean, that or just call someone out of the stands to go run into the back of the center and fall down. Like, I mean, you have to. That I'm still baffled by, but Kamario adds a different dimension to this offense, and I understand from a coaching perspective if you're going to, like, we know Lebby is a little hypercritical of quarterbacks, which as an offensive-minded coach, that's not shocking.
No, and he's the quarterback's coach or has been,
It's not surprising at all, but it's time to just let Kamario loose. Like, he's, like I've said before, he's not fazed by the moment. Just put him out there and let him take some lumps. Or he's going to go out there and surprise you. Those are the two outcomes. And either way, I mean, if he surprises you, you get a win. If he goes out there and takes his lumps, it's probably the same as if you start Shapen.
And with all that being said, I think Shapen's starting again based off of what he said once again. He said, hey, if he's healthy, he's starting. And I don't know any reason why he wouldn't be healthy because it's not like he got injured in the last game again. So, I mean, unless he had some kind of setback in that game that we just don't know about, which obviously there's no media availability report this week because they don't play this week. But yeah, so it sounds like again he's going to go all in on Blake Shapen.
Yeah, and it's an interesting choice. Like we've talked about it so much that it's. Oh, I wish he would just go with Kamario at this point, though. And I know most of our listeners are been screaming for Kamario since before the season or after about the third game. But I mean, through the first month, you saw why he went with Shapen. Yeah, Kamario made a couple big plays, but Shapen wasn't doing anything to lose you games.
Yes.
Correct. And then he started doing things to lose you games. So why he's wasting plays, to use Lebby's words.
Yeah, no, he absolutely is. So get ready, guys. It's going to be a Shapen game again. And I will say, like, regardless of who it is out there, get behind the team and let's go win the Egg Bowl. I mean, I saw, and I think it's one of the worst Mississippi State accounts on Twitter, or X, if you want to call it that. But Hail State Stool is the Barstool account. And they said, fans just should boycott and not go to the game. That's the stupidest I ever heard. This is the Egg Bowl with a bowl game on the line. Not only that, if you win, you might knock Ole Miss out of the playoff run. Why would you not be packed for that? That's ridiculous for you not to be.
And I've also seen this mentioned more than once that fans should boo every time Shapen takes the field.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Don't be those people.
Don't do that either.
Don't be those people. While he's out there, he's your quarterback. You might not agree with it. Now, if he throws 4 picks and they keep running him out there, maybe boo that. But don't just do it from the start.
Or if he's playing bad and you're down 20, and you want to boo because they go 3 and out, like, okay, fine, it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, you're trying to win a game here, and they need you backing them to win this game because it's going to be a big time game for them for sure. All right, coming up next, we will talk about some things that are happening in Starkville. Don't go anywhere.
The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
All right, well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day. Part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, Landon, what are you looking forward to this weekend in Starkville?
Well, we got some basketball going on, and I don't know about most people, but I have a hard time paying attention to basketball when football is happening. Like, I know what's going on. I check the scores, but I'm just not in basketball mode yet. And since we have the week off, they have some games going on. They're in the what's the name? The Hall of Fame Classic little tournament kind of thing. So that's going on this weekend. Then I got a game on Monday. So I'll be paying a little bit of attention to this new basketball team. So many new faces this year.
Yeah, a ton of new faces. I was actually going to bring that up as well, the men's basketball team, because I feel bad that we haven't talked about them this year. Now, they had the ugly performance against Iowa State, kind of got blown out. But you mentioned they got the Classic this weekend, and then they got the game on Monday. I will say, if you haven't watched them much this year, you need to tune into watching them, because Josh Hubbard is having himself a start to the season.
Yeah,
he's shooting like over 40%, over 35% from three, averaging 22 points per game. Like he's on pace to be in the SEC Player of the Year. The issue is he's not getting much help because Sean Jones is next, and he's averaging just under 12, and then no other player is averaging a double figure. So he's going to need some help. But no, he is having a fantastic start to the season.
Yeah, he is. And there's right now, I mean, not a whole lot else going on. Them and obviously women's basketball is going on. It started as well. But yeah, when football's off in the fall, it feels like something's missing from your Saturday.
Yeah, and then, obviously we'll have baseball eventually. And there's a lot of hope for that. But hey, you mentioned women's basketball. They're off to a great start.
Yeah, they are.
This year. So that's a team that people should watch. And they obviously will play Monday as well. Against Alcorn State, and they have a couple games, I believe, next week. But yeah, no, they're a totally different team. Like we mentioned a lot this offseason, but we talked about the men being kind of all one player or bust. They have 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, they have 5 players averaging double figures. 2 of those are freshmen.
Yeah.
So they're getting really good play from the freshmen, and they've been a fun team to watch, and that should shape up to be a fun spring.
Yeah, that we talked a lot about those freshmen when they were coming in this year over the summer when we were talking about that team. And yeah, a couple of them are already really showing that they deserve that high recruiting ranking, and that's going to be a fun team to watch throughout the year.
Yeah, so while football is still going on, and that's kind of been the focus, men's basketball, women's basketball, baseball, softball should be pretty good again. It's going to be a lot of fun in the spring. Yeah, for sure. All right, well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On SEC. Chris Gordy breaks down the best conference in college sports, from the rivalries to the championship and every game in between. Find Locked On SEC on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. I'm Jaron. Check out my work over at Athlon Sports. That's Landon. Follow us, Locked On Mississippi State. We're on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. We post daily videos Monday through Friday, so check those out as well. Obviously, no pre- and post-game video this weekend because there's no game this weekend. But we'll be back on Monday diving in, probably talk about, obviously, preview a lot Ole Miss next week. And it's going to be a lot of Ole Miss talk all week long. If you missed the crossover show yesterday, check that out with Locked On Ole Miss host Stephen Willis. We're going to do another one this week, and it will release, or this upcoming week, and it will release on Thursday, the day before the game. So on Thanksgiving Day.
So if you want to get away from your family for about 30 minutes,
as Stephen said, that will be your turkey for the day. I like it. That'll be your turkey. But all right, until next time, Hail State.
Hail State.